So the next element I'm going to talk about is this guy right here. That guy. This is the ground rupture one, and this one is kind of cool. There's some of these, they're hard to track down actually, and they get covered up. So I'm really only going to be talking about, is it ground shock or ground rupture? Oh yeah, it's ground rupture. Okay, so this one posed a very interesting challenge. So what I just wanted like really broken up. Let's see here. Oh, what's going on? Oh yeah, I'm doing this one at time. So this was a later element, so I just started simming at a later time. And so what I do is I do like a noisy delete, and I just, I get a couple rocks, right? I just get a couple patches is what I want. And what I wanted to do is I wanted to emit from these sections, and this looks a little bit weird. Now what I'm doing here is I'm building different clusters, like different areas to emit from. So really what I'm doing is these are initial bounds. And so this is a lot like like a cluster setup. If you click down the smoke cluster tool, that's pretty much what I'm doing here, but I had to customize it a little bit. So there's my grid centers, there's my initial bounds, and here's my emission. So this to do this emission, this was pretty fun. So it just shoots off the particles. I have a really noisy one, and then these sort of streams here. And I cut it, I remove it down on red. So there's some noise there, and I remove the particles. So I have noise on them. And so I add that into the fuel attribute, and these have a cluster, or they don't have a cluster. They all this is used as one source, I believe. Yeah, so it's all one source, and VDB is fast enough to do this. I could have clustered these and made different volumes from each, but this got the job done. And so let's see which one. Oh yeah, I had to rebuild it a couple times. So it's this guy. I'm going to clean this up for you guys. And I'm using a point position and a smoke object. So again, coming from the missile tutorial trail, I think I did the missile tutorial after this guy, or I guess the missile setup after this. So I point at the grid point, so I know how many things I have to make, and then I use the point position, and then I get the point number, and it ties to the object ID, and so that positions them. And then what I do is I add this, and as you can see, I have a primitive group cluster. So this is the initial bounds. So every object gets, like every dot grid gets their own cluster geometry here, and it gets partitioned into these groups, and that's how I select it. So again, I pretty much copy this. As you can see, I'm pretty much copy pasting that stuff in there. And the gas resize fluid, this is again going to the DOP and the initial geometry. So that's the geometry bounds. And then I source it in, and I make sure instancing is off. So this is pretty much the same tutorial pretty much as the missile, but there's a little bit different of effect for it. And I did try wavelet, but I didn't like the results I was getting, so I just cranked it up on the DOPNet. And then so I'm going to delete that because we don't need this, and then I'm going to rename this sim smoke. And the reason why I did this is it's spread out, and so the grid was pretty big. and it was going really slow, and I was having a tough time simming and rendering this one and getting the detail that I wanted. So this is a bunch of different fluid grids here, 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 and here, and then some behind that you don't even see. And so this is the kind of look. So I was really happy. This is one of the last ones I did, and I was really happy with this pass. Okay, and I guess we'll talk about the... I'm not going to talk about all these because some are just shit. I was looking at them and it was like, oh, this is... Don't even look at this. I guess we'll talk about the fluid ground shock next. Yeah, because there's only, I think, about 3, and then we already went over the Shockwave, and that Shockwave is this really... It's this broken up one. And I really... that pass turned out surprisingly well, and I was pretty happy with it. Total accident. Sometimes shit just works out. Alright, thank you very much for watching.